We will review 5 elements of a training program. This includes content creation, training validation, communication tools, a trainer's guide, and reference materials. Content creation is the biggest and often most daunting part of creating a new training program. Here I will walk through a sample process for organizing content across a full training program. We need to start with big picture ideas and drill down into specifics. We need to create major subject categories, the extent of which will depend on the position that we're writing training programs for. Once we have a full list of categories, we need to start making a detailed list of items to review in each category. Then we will break that content into smaller daily chunks. Let's walk through what this process will look like. Let's start with some major categories. Here we have service steps, product knowledge, operational procedures such as opening and closing, and finally food safety. Once we have major categories, we start breaking down the finer details. Here we have food safety broken down into temperature control, cross-contamination, illness reporting, and chemical knowledge. We will go through this process for each major category that we have created. Once we have a detailed list of each item in our training categories, we can start to break the information down into smaller chunks. Here I've taken our content and put it into a grid broken down by day and topic. We now have the outline of a structured training program, but we still have some work to do. Each topic needs to be converted into long-form content, so we need to determine how deep we want to go depending on our audience. As an example, we have food safety with temperature control as one of our topics, and then we decide that we will discuss the temperature danger zone, reheating procedures, and corrective actions. This starts to create a more detailed outline of how we're going to write content for our training program. Once we have our full outline in place, we convert our bullet points into paragraphs. In our long-form content, we want to make sure to expand on what, how, and why for each bullet point. Within the scope of our entire training program, this written information is really just an introduction to content. This information should all be reinforced in the training process with our training teams while working the shift. The written content does provide a base set of knowledge for each new hire and a platform for your training team to work with. When creating your content, you may need to assess how much information to include in the onboarding process. This may vary depending on the position. For many positions, there is no disadvantage to supplying everything up front. In some cases, it may make sense to provide ongoing training modules for the employee after they have finished their initial training experience. An example of this may be a server in a craft beer sports bar. It may not be necessary to have an in-depth knowledge of craft beer to successfully perform the job, but it will make a more successful server and create more service value. In this scenario, you would prioritize the content necessary to successfully perform the job and provide ongoing training to develop your knowledge later.